Today I'm canning tomato soup from fresh tomatoes, and I'm going to show you step by step how you can do the same. If you like homesteading how-to videos, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel so you'll be the first to know when I upload a new video. The first thing I like to do is rinse my tomatoes in water with a few drops of lemon oil. This makes sure that they're good and clean, and if there's any mold or mildew or bacteria on the tomatoes, it'll clean it off. Then I cut the tops off of the tomatoes and slice them into fourths. If there's any real green spots on them, I'll go ahead and cut that off as well. I like to check and make sure there's no bad spots and cut out any spots that aren't good. Once all of the tomatoes are cut up, then blend them until all of the seeds are ground up. I use a mason jar for measuring, and I'll put the exact measurements in the description below. I'm using 2 pots here because I don't have a large enough one at this time to make the entire recipe. In a skillet, melt the butter, and then add all of the other spice ingredients and stir. I add some of the tomatoes to the skillet to have enough liquid to be able to stir in the flour. It will look kind of like a gravy of sorts. If you're using 2 pots like I am, you're going to want to divide the mixture between the 2 pots of tomatoes. Turn your pot on medium heat and use a whisk to stir the soup until everything is dissolved. I like to stir vigorously to make sure my mixture doesn't clump and leave dumplings in the soup. Once everything is dissolved and your soup has come to a boil, then you're going to add tomato paste and whisk that in. The soup being thick as it is, I like to use a sturdy spatula to keep it off the bottom of the pot. So bring your soup back to a rolling boil, one that's hard to stir down. And while your soup is cooking, go ahead and heat your jars in an oven on 200 degrees to help sterilize them, and they will be ready and hot for your hot soup to go into. When ladling the soup into the jars, it's important to make sure and keep the soup no higher than the bottom rim of the jars, making sure there's a head space in the jars to assure a vacuum seal. If too little head space, the food can expand and bubble out when the air is being forced out from under the lid during processing. Using a damp paper towel, wipe the tops of each jar to make sure no soup is on the rim and hinder a good seal. Today I'm using Tattler lids. For these lids, it's important to add the rubber seal and make sure they don't twist while tightening the rings. I hold the lid down while tightening the rings so that the rubber seal doesn't twist, preventing a seal. Also, very important when using a Tattler lids, just slightly twist the rings, do not tighten them all the way or the lids will not seal. Today I'm using a steam sealer, and as you can see, I only filled the water to the top of the flat jar rack. Then simply place the jars of soup onto the jar rack. My recipe made 8 quarts, but the canner only holds 7, so I will can the other one in a different batch. Turn the stove on medium high and let the steam canner heat up until the dot is green in your zone. Once it reaches the green, turn the stove to medium heat and make sure the gauge stays on green. You'll see a hole here on the front of the canner. That's the steam, where the steam comes out of. Make sure it doesn't burn you. Then set the timer to 25 minutes once it's in the green. With the Tatler lids, remember how I left the rings loose while canning? Now it's time to turn the rings a quarter turn to make sure the jar seals. All of the supplies I have used today are linked below for your convenience. If you haven't yet, go ahead and like this video and click the follow button to be notified when I upload new videos.